So this questioning, for me, when I studied with Ramesh, was super helpful for me to question my guilt or other people's blame or expectation, but not as a repression. So I went through a period of trying to act like that, and that's not what it's meant to be. So I went through a period of trying not to blame. It's actually the way to recondition yourself is actually honesty. It's not trying to be something. Like I come across a lot of people trying to be non-duality, trying to act to be enlightened, or trying to be someone without blame, or trying to be someone without guilt or expectation. And it's not about not having it, it's about being totally honest to what's there. So it's just seeing it, so blame arises, and seeing that that's what's happening, and not necessarily acting it out, just spending some time alone exploring that blame and what the root of that blame is. So say if you're blaming your mother because she said something about your hair, she said a bitchy comment about your hair, but then pretended she was being nice, something like that. Like, I forget that humans have these problems. I know they do, but I do forget that people get very irritated and annoyed with each other. The reason I'm remembering is because the last couple of days, some girlfriends of mine from a WhatsApp chat have been expressing about annoyance amongst the group that come up, and they were talking about this is girlfriends that aren't into spirituality. They were talking about how annoyed they get on the underground, or how annoyed their partner gets in this situation, and it made me remember, oh yeah, that used to happen to me. Like, so many things would annoy me and circle around in my head, or I would take personally. So say your mum makes a comment. So say you've gone in there and she's done a passive aggressive maneuver, and it's annoying. So you feel like there's no way out of that. Like, she said it, she's put you down, and you leave and there's nowhere out of that. There are most probably healthier ways to deal with it than just ignoring it. Like, you could say something, but we're not going to talk about behavior. We're going to talk about the internal world. So that's what she's done. And she's done that because she couldn't be any other way. She couldn't choose in that moment to do anything else but that. It's not saying it's appropriate, and it's not saying you need to forgive her and be okay with it. It's just that she couldn't be any different from that. So say, like, you walk away and it really hurts your heart. Like, to me, the best thing that you can do, like, you could work out a way to address it and talk about it with her, but the most important thing for me would be to explore what happens in your heart. So maybe you're not even aware that it hurts your heart. So maybe I'm jumping ahead. Maybe you're only aware that there is a lot of like mental activity about how annoying your mum is, and why does she do this and why does she do that. So you just realize, okay, my mind is talking a lot about my mum. It's saying a lot of things about my mum, and I don't like it. So then just come back to your body. So where do I feel that in my body? And this is really important, associating the thoughts with the body on the human level. This is very important. So then you say, okay, it hurts in my solar plexus. Let's go to solar plexus. So what do we know about the solar plexus? The solar plexus is feeling out of control, feeling like you don't have choice. This is in the negative. Feeling like you're trapped, anger, frustration, depression. And in the positive, it's feeling like you can do something, you do have choices, you can do it, feeling powerful and strong. And yeah, I think there's more than likely more to it, but that's all I'll say for now. So okay, so we know those are the feelings with the solar plexus. So you just put your attention there, and then you just give it freedom to speak. So what is it that the solar plexus is saying? So it's like, it might come up, and you just got to be totally honest with yourself that you hate your mum in that moment. I hate it when she does that. I hate her. And you just allow the anger to arise. And then you can even remember other things that she's done. And she did this when I was 4 years old, and she did this when I was 10 years old, and she did that when I was 10 years old. And then what else? She makes me feel powerless and trapped and stupid. So you just go for it, and you just speak it out for yourself. You just trace it back, what's happening. and give it space to just speak, and see that these are all ideas arising in you that are conditioned. They're conditioned from the first thought that says that you are the doer and she is the doer. If you didn't have that thought that she is someone separate, you're someone separate, then you wouldn't be able to have those thoughts about her. So these primary thoughts are really important for you to have those thoughts about. So they're fundamental to those thoughts. So it's just seeing that your thoughts aren't true, your thoughts aren't fact. And the way that she's got angry and putting you down has most probably arose from the illusion that she has control or you have control. More than likely she feels victim to you in some way, that you've done something to her. So you can see how a lot of our conflict is based on doership. The idea that she's done something, I've done something, and then there's this clash and this blame. And sometimes you can get into arguments. So if you confront your mother, you could get into arguments about who's guilty, who's the guilty one, which is actually a waste of a time. But it also can be good if it's done lightly, because it can renegotiate the relationship. But when it goes on for hours and hours, it's pointless. And when you're going around in your head, it's just suffering. It just creates a lot of pain. So it's not about you telling yourself, so your mum hurts you and you feel pain. It's not like then you start saying, okay, I'm not the doer, she's not the doer. To me, that's spiritual bypassing. If you start repeating that story, basically you've got a feeling, you're like, okay, quick, evacuate, evacuate. How can I get out of this feeling? Boom, 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 boom. Eject. So that is spiritual bypassing, doing that. What you want to do is you want to be honest with yourself about what you're feeling, which most people don't like doing because it can be painful. And often people don't have enough time, they've got lots of things to do. But you have to make time and be honest with yourself, because it won't stop. Basically what you're doing is you're suppressing that thought, and the energy in your body won't change until you begin to be honest of it and stop engaging with it on a deeper level. By seeing it's not true on a deeper level. On the surface level, just ignoring and pushing away, in a way, keeps the feeling in your body and leads your body into stress, into illness, into panic attacks, into feeling bad all the time, chronic pain, because you're just repressing it. You've got these feelings and thoughts that are underneath it all, and then you're trying on the intellectual level just to avoid it. So it's coming back to these feelings and thoughts. So back to those feelings and thoughts, if you keep going deeper, you might actually get to a point eventually where you begin to realize that you blame God for a lot of things, like, why does God do this? Like when you keep peeling it back and following it back, or you might follow it back to a childhood trauma. It's just investigating and seeing what's there. This is so natural and normal to me to do this. It's like if someone's never drunk water before, like trying to imagine all the things that you need to tell them about water, or about how to drink, or where to find it, or what it is. So if I ever have strong feelings, even now, this is what I do, is I go into my chakras and I ask what they're saying and what they're feeling. And then eventually, once you've got down far enough and you really feel like you've explored why it is you've got all this resentment to your mum, and this is when things really begin to change. If you go to your mum and you ask her to change, or you say something without a positive feeling inside you, more than likely you're going to have clash and there's going to be conflict. The best way to go with your mum is to go and address your mum is after you've done this part. So once you've got to the bottom of that feeling, then ask yourself, what is it that I want from my mother? And this is actually going to bring your vibration up and give you really nice feelings in that chakra. So what is it you want? I want my mother to love me. I want my mother to say kind things. I want my mother to be happy. I want us to enjoy each other's company. And you just bring these to the surface. You don't need to think about them all the time, but it's just bringing them to the surface and letting that chakra, or giving that chakra opportunity to shift. I want my mother to feel great about herself. I want to be able to compliment my mum regularly. I want her to compliment me. I want us to go for dinner together. You can just say what you want and let that positive energy come up. But you can only do that when you've got really deep into that feeling, when you've really surrendered to that feeling, that you can begin to change it. And you'll feel your whole energy change. You can also massage the chakra, that can help relax it. But the worst thing that you can do is try to use non-doership to avoid your feelings, or there is no I, to avoid your feelings and pull yourself out of it. This is about honesty. And this is why I think a lot of people get really frustrated with non-duality, because they hear it and they get it and they practice going back into the I am, and they practice the consciousness, and they practice the questioning who they are. So they do all these different things, but you know, after 10 years they still feel the same, because they've never actually dealt with that illusory character. And so because that illusory character is quite solid, they're always seeking. So there's always a veil of over who they are. They're always looking at the world through the limitation of them. And it doesn't change, because their core beliefs and feelings are very strong and producing a lot of discomfort. And so then they're seeking in time to try to avoid it, whether it be through non-duality, through a new love affair, through a new house. They're seeking for a future event that will bring them freedom, and more than likely it'll be enlightenment. Whereas if you just do non-duality from that perspective, unless you've got an extremely balanced character, more than likely it will just become a new mechanism to avoid yourself. So the teachings of no I will be there in order to repress your feelings, in order to escape this current moment, in order to escape difficult situations, in order to escape having to do something. There's got to be an honesty, a seeing through the illusion of you. And it's not by anyone, it's just that it undoes itself. This I, there's an investigation into it, and it undoes itself. It gets looser, it gets thinner. There isn't so much discomfort in the body, so it's seen that I'm not a feeling, that happiness isn't my feelings. Like, do you believe that freedom is happy feelings? Because that's not what freedom is. Feelings change. Like, I can be angry, I can have worry, I can be excited, I can be in pain, physical pain, what other emotions? I can be angry, I've said that one. I can be frustrated, I can get annoyance, I can get every feeling, I can get sadness, lack of energy, even obsessive thinking in a way, not really, but like I can get stuck on something that I think about. And it's not that's a freedom. It's not having beautiful thoughts all the time. It's not having perfect chakras. It's not having always love feelings. It's this energetic shift from you being the experiencer to no one being the experiencer. And then the character can still have all its emotional reactions. It more than likely makes the character a lot more simpler. And in order for that to happen, I think there has to be a certain amount of balance in that character, a certain amount of thinning out of that character. If you're really involved in hate and frustration and blame and guilt and really tight and contracted, then it seems difficult, or it seems impossible, though I'm sure it can happen because everything can happen, that somebody could see that they're not, or not even somebody could see, there could be this break, this energetic break from that person, or the collapse of seeking. Because when you're really condensed, you're just focused on me and nothing else can be heard. There's not an opening for another possibility. But it's not that person that arrives at it, arrives at that awakening, even though it requires a thinning out of that person, or of a balancing out of that person. That person doesn't actually wake up because that person doesn't exist.